Good day, welcome. This is your Daily Med with Lady V. Today we are going to look at Israel's prayer that is listed in Nehemiah chapter 9. We will see today that the people of Israel assembled for a great day of national confession. They separated themselves from the foreigners in their midst, and they humbled themselves before the Lord with fastings and prayer and mourning. The scripture says that they read the scriptures for 3 hours. Then for another 3 hours, they confessed and worship. Confession is the road to revival in any nation. The Levites, the leaders, the spiritual leaders led the people in a great prayer of confession, listed in Nehemiah chapter 9, verse 6 through 37. And a prayer of dedication, where they decided we have to rededicate our lives back to the Lord. This is the longest prayer in the Bible. And the theme of the prayer is God's faithfulness to them despite their waywardness. So Israel prayed. They prayed about creation, what God did for them in creation. They prayed about the covenant that God made with Abraham. They prayed about the exodus from Egypt. They prayed about the journey that they took through the wilderness. They prayed about the law that was given at Mount Sinai. They also prayed about the provision that God made for them while they were traveling. Yet Israel frequently rebelled against God in the wilderness, in contrast to God's unfailing kindness towards them. They prayed about their conquest of Canaan. They prayed about the era of the judges. They prayed also about the unheeded warnings that God gave to them, which ultimately led to their captivity. They also prayed and appealed to God for forgiveness from judgment and for deliverance from the consequences of the captivity. And finally, the people desire to make a covenant with their God. So this morning I will attempt to read that prayer for you. It is Nehemiah chapter 9, verse 6 to the end. It says, "You are God, Lord, only you are God. You made the sky and the highest heavens, and everything in them. You made the earth, and everything in it. You made the seas, and everything in them. You give life to everything. All the heavenly angels bow down and worship you. You are the Lord, the God who chose Abraham. You led him from Ur in Babylonia. You changed his name to Abraham. You saw he was true and loyal to you, and you made an agreement with him. You promised to give him the land of the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Perizzites, the Jebusites, and the Girgashites. But you promised to give that land to Abraham's descendants, and you kept your promise because you are good. You saw our ancestors suffering in Egypt and heard them call for help by the Red Sea. You showed the miracles to Pharaoh. You did amazing things to his officials and his people. You know that the Egyptians thought they were better than our ancestors. But you proved how great you are. And they remembered that even today, you split the Red Sea in front of them, and they walked through on dry land. The Egyptian soldiers were chasing them, but you threw that enemy into the sea, and they sank like a rock in the sea. With the tall clouds, you led them by day, and at night used columns of fire. That is the way you lit their path and showed them where to go. Then you came down to Mount Sinai. You spoke to them from heaven. You gave them good laws. You gave them true teachings. You gave them laws and commands that were very good. You told them about your special day of rest, the Sabbath. Through your servant Moses, you gave them commands, laws, and teachings. They were hungry, so you gave them food from heaven. They were thirsty. You gave them water from a rock. You told them, come and take this land. You used your power to take the land for them. But our ancestors became proud and stubborn. They refused to obey your commands. They refused to listen. They forget the amazing things you did with them. They became stubborn. They decided to return to Egypt and became slaves again. But you are a forgiving God. You are kind and full of mercy. You are patient and full of love. So you didn't leave them. You didn't leave them even when they made golden calves and said, these are the gods that led us out of Egypt. You are very kind. So you didn't leave them in the desert. You didn't take that tall cloud away from them by day. You continue to lead them. You didn't take the column of fire away from them at night. You continued to light their path and to show them which way to go. You gave them your good spirit to make them wise. You gave them manna for food. You gave them water for thirst. You took care of them for 40 years. They had all they needed in the desert. Their clothes did not wear out. You gave them feet that did not swell or hurt. You gave them kingdoms and nations, and you gave them faraway places where few people lived. They got the land of King Sihon of Heshbon. They got the land of King Og of Bashan. You made your descendants as many as the stars in the skies. You brought them to the land you promised to give their ancestors. They went in and took that land. Their children took the land. They defeated the Canaanites living there. You let them defeat those people. You let them do whatever they wanted to those nations, people, and kings. They defeated powerful cities. They took the fertile land. They got houses filled with good things. They got wells that were already dug. They got vineyards, olive trees, and plenty of fruit trees. They ate until they were full and fat. They enjoyed all the wonderful things you gave them. And then they turned against you. They threw away your teachings. They killed your prophets. These prophets warned the people. They tried to bring them back to you, but our ancestors said terrible things against you. So you let their enemies have them. The enemies caused them much trouble. When trouble came, our ancestors called to you for help, and in heaven you heard them, you are very kind. So you sent people to save them, and they rescued them from their enemies. Then, as soon as our ancestors were rested, they started doing terrible things again. So you let the enemy defeat them and punish them. They called to you for help, and in heaven you heard and helped them. You are so kind. That happened so many times. You warned them. You told them to come back, but they were too proud. They refused to listen to your commands. If people obey your laws, they will live. But our ancestors broke your laws. They were stubborn. They turned their backs on you. They refused to listen. You were very patient with our ancestors. You let them mistreat you for many years. You warned them with your spirit. You sent the prophets to warn them. But our ancestors didn't listen. So you gave them to people in other countries. But you are so kind. You didn't completely destroy them. You didn't leave them. You are such kind and merciful God. Our God, you are the great God, the awesome, powerful soldier. You are kind and loyal. You kept your agreement. We have had many troubles, and our troubles are important to you. Bad things happen to all our people, and to our kings and leaders, and to our priests and prophets. Those terrible things have happened from the days of the king of Assyria until today. But God, you were right about everything that happened to us. You were right and we were wrong. Our kings, leaders, priests, and fathers did not obey your law. They didn't listen to your commands. They ignored your warnings. Our ancestors didn't serve you even when they were living in their own kingdom. They didn't stop doing evil. They enjoyed all the wonderful things you gave them. They enjoyed the rich land, had plenty of room. But they didn't stop their evil ways. And now we are slaves. We are slaves in this land. The land you gave our ancestors so they could enjoy its fruit and all the good things that grow there. The harvest is big in this land, but we sinned, so that harvest goes to the kings you put over us. They control us and our cattle. They do anything they want. We are in a lot of trouble. Because of all these things, we are making an agreement that cannot be changed. We are putting this agreement in writing. Our leaders, Levites, and priests are signing their names to this agreement and sealing it with a seal. Today, as a nation, maybe that's what we need to do. Even though we, like Israel, have gone astray, they came together and realized that amidst all that God has done for them, they still did that which was wrong in his sight. But they understood that he was a kind, a loving, and a merciful God. And if they come confessing their sins, making an agreement to turn to him, then he would have mercy upon them. This today, may it be the prayer of our heart for our own nation. God bless you. Thank you again for watching, and may God bless the United States of America.